What happens when we pray? All right, that's the question for today. Hope you're having a good one out there. Thanks for coming. My name is Thomas, and welcome to my channel. I do educational videos on mostly academic-ish topics, math and geometry and physics and chemistry and history and music and health and wellness and also meditation, economics, and I guess the kind of difference in my approach is I try to approach these things from a quantum level, at the most fundamental level, and the way I see it, if you get things at the most fundamental level, then things are quantized. So you're not dealing with infinities. You're not dealing with a lot of complicated complications. You're not dealing with infinite decimals. You're dealing with either functions or integers. And but to start the course, before we even get into those subjects, we're studying the tree of life. And so I've been putting out video after video, a total of 144 plus videos on the tree of life, different aspects of the tree of life. And the reason we're into the tree of life is because it's a foundational tool. It's a tool that you can use to help you assimilate large amounts of information from others about other subjects. And so if we can solidify the tree of life in our minds, then it becomes much easier to learn all these other things. And it becomes even easier to unlearn them, because that's generally the approach is, in order to learn the topics that I teach, you have to do a little bit of unlearning of the propagandized versions of these subjects that you were probably taught. Okay, now the tree of life is this diagram right here, and you can see that it is a bunch of circles with connected by lines. These circles are numbered. There are 10 of them. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. There's also an implied sphere here that's called the abyss. And then there is a 0 above the tree. It makes a total of 12 different categories. You can think of them as 12 different aspects or faculties of our consciousness. The tree of life itself is more or less a map of our consciousness. And we use it to kind of put things into proportion, to weigh things against each other, to determine what has higher priority. The higher up the tree, the higher the priority, or the higher the importance in terms of spiritual development. And we start, creation starts from here. It creates downward, and then we start here and we evolve back. So there's an involution and an evolution. And so we pick up the story here where we are beginning our lives. And so this 10th sphere is about our survival or instinct. This is our sense of instinct, of self-preservation, of our life force. This is fight or flight response. This is the state of nature, the law of the jungle. This is also, our ability to keep ourselves alive. Unconsciously, it's just an instinctual ability. But we can ruin our own ability through our own actions, through lusts and defilements of the body, through addictions that can destroy and damage our life force. So we can contribute to this really negatively, but it operates on its own. And then once we get to the 9th sphere, this is talking about the first years of our life. where the 10th sphere is our wild animal, the 9th sphere is like a domesticated animal. This is the domestic sphere, what we're getting in the home growing up, the first years of our life. We are highly receptive. We are wrapped in attention by the most mundane things because to us they're new and different. And we particularly watch our caregivers, other people that are in the house, and we watch what they do. And then we imitate what they do to the best of our ability. And then we practice that imitation over and over and over again until we feel like we get it right. Once we have it right, then we basically have it memorized and we don't have to think about it anymore. So, that's how we learn how to walk. It's how we learn how to talk, and all these other things. We have to, at the time we learned how to walk, it was very painstaking, it didn't seem like it, but we kept falling down, kept getting back up, kept falling. So and we learned it from watching, our caregivers amble around the house. And at some point, we were like, let me try that art myself. And we fell down immediately and got back up and kept doing it for months before we kind of had it even mastered to a limited degree. Okay, so now where the 9th sphere is about the domestic space, the 8th sphere is about the public space. So this is what you get when you go out into public. You encounter the consensus worldview, the consensus beliefs, the beliefs of the populace at large, or at least that's how it's presented to us. This is also, the expert opinion, the conventional wisdom. This is what you get when you start going to school, when you start going to church. And unfortunately, the people that are proffering these opinions and these belief systems and these behavior patterns are not necessarily our friends. This is where the powers that be are located. This is all the institutions. This is the establishment. And they are tricksters. So they are there to convey a certain message to us, but that message may or may not be true. Sometimes it is. If it's convenient for them, it'll be true. If it's not, then they will twist the truth in various ways. And you can see that the number 8 itself is quite twisted. It's also the same upside down as it is right side up. And that's what happens to us in a lot of situations. We have to turn our A-sphere upside down, where our A-sphere is about our belief systems and our rational faculties. A lot of times we have to use upside down logic to justify ourselves at this point, because what we have experienced here at the 9th sphere is a lot of times in direct contradiction to what we are taught here at the A-sphere. And since the A-sphere is where the consensus is, and the A-sphere is also where the resources are, where all the status is, this is the goal. This is presented as being like the goal of your life, is to get into the A-sphere. You have to go to the right schools, you have to go get the right job and do what you're told in that job to advance. These are all the A-sphere goals. And they're presented as being like universal or consensus. And so when our own values contradict with them, we have a tension. And a lot of times we end up inverting our A-sphere and going against our sense of logic and acquiescing to what they're saying as opposed to our own experience. So we turn our back on our own experience and we accept the consensus worldview. To a certain extent, this is necessary because this is where all the resources are. And so we've got to get in there and get the resources. But you can use things like lip service to kind of get in there and just pretend like you're buying into it. But if you really are buying into it, then you really kind of flipped your A-sphere. You do this through things like rationalization, where you come up with numerous excuses to justify something, or through circular reasoning when you use your own premises to justify the conclusions. You have a false consensus where you say that it's true because everybody believes it's true, which is also not true. So the basic idea here is if you start inverting your logic, you're going to end up getting stuck in here. You're going to end up getting into a cycle where you can't get your way out because you've come up with so many excuses to justify that you have to unravel all those excuses to get out. So what you're really trying to do, according to the tree, you recognize that this is only the third faculty that we're opening. We have many more faculties to go, and so it's not the be-all end-all. It's not the goal of our life. It's just we just get in here, we access these abilities, and we access the resources, and then we move on to the next one. So when we move on to the next one, which is number 7, where the A sphere is about the real world, the 7th sphere is about the imaginary world. So this has to do with our imagination. It also has to do with our inspiration. Maybe we saw somebody here who was doing what we want to be doing or something similar, and that inspired us. We have our intuition, our ability to be curious about things and to go inside and ask, and we'll receive answers. And so that is our intuition, but it's not complete because it has to be verified, because we might mistranslate those answers. Also, we have our creative spark and our pleasure principle, our ability to put things together into pleasing and novel arrangements, and we put all these things together to come up with our 7th sphere alternative. So where it's like the real world and the imaginary world, at the 7th sphere, we're proposing alternatives for the A sphere. We've been in the A sphere, and there are aspects of it that we didn't like. And so we are trying to make it better. We might come up with a new song, we might come up with a new theory, we might come up with a new invention that, tries to improve upon what's going on here. Then, culminating, that's kind of like, that's our start. That's the project that we develop. And that is, what we kind of synthesize or integrate here at the top of the 7th sphere, where, at the A sphere, they're telling you, what you're supposed to be. I want to be a pro athlete. I want to be, a cop. I want to be a banker. But here at the 7th sphere, you're saying, I want to be me, but I want to be the best version possible of me and the best, most useful person possible, where I can plug myself, I fit in, where, finding my piece of the puzzle, where I fit in this world with the given skills and affinities that I have, and weaknesses, and how do I best fit in at this particular time in this lifetime. So that's kind of like our higher calling or our sacred mission, and that gives us really the impetus to climb further up the tree. So when we get to the 6th sphere, we're talking about our free will, and our free will boils down to our ability to pay attention and our ability to make decisions. Okay, so when we start here, this is really where we are on the map. If this were a map, it would say you are here. But our attention is focused down the tree under normal conditions. We're looking at, the habits that we picked up. We're looking at, the measures of success and the consensus worldview that they've established for us. And these are things we're comfortable with because we grew up with them. 7th sphere to a lesser extent as well. So what we have to do at free will is take the first component of free will, our attention, and take our second component of free will, which is our ability to make decisions, and make the decision to turn our attention around so that we're now focused on the higher aspects of the tree. We're now pointing at the higher aspects instead of the lower aspects. And this is a huge move that we have to make, and we have to be able to overcome fear, or at least stand in the face of fear here at the sixth sphere, because to go from a place of familiarity to looking at the unknown, it requires courage. That requires you to overcome fear to a certain extent. So basically, the thing with free will is that free will is not free. You have to pay attention, and then you have to make decisions. So that's the sixth sphere. And now when we take our attention, the first thing we want to point it at is the next sphere in line, the fifth sphere. So the fifth sphere is about our sense of justice, or sense of fairness, or sense of what's right and wrong. And you can think of it as karma, and you can think of karma as really like a mirror, a reflection right here. And our karma is cause and effect. What comes around goes around. As you sow, so shall you reap. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And karma, the reflection, is based upon violence, waste, and violation. So, if we violate someone, we get violated back. If we do violence to someone, we get violence back. If we notice that this is going on, we can respond constructively to karma, instead of being a victim of karma, where we're like, oh, I have the worst luck. Well, no, it's that you created it yourself, and so you can uncreate it. And with the next action, you can not create so much violence. Now, this might take some study, and some practice, but eventually, you use karma as your teacher, not your enemy. It's your teacher. And one of the sayings at the fifth sphere is that this is Mars, the god of war, but it's not the god of war starting wars, but the god of ending wars. And also, the general idea is that karma is not here to punish you; it's here to protect you. So once you really do actually clean up your actions and remove the violence and waste from your behavior, and also live down your past life karma, then you're immune. Then bad things will not happen to you. So that's the fifth sphere idea. Now, the fourth sphere is a complement to the fifth sphere, where the fifth sphere is about the enforcement of the law. The fourth sphere is about the articulation of that natural law, universal law and order. And so you use this in conjunction. If you can tune into the cosmologies, the ancient holy books, the theories of everything that talk about how everything all fits together, and what the purpose is, where it comes from, all these universal questions that we have about life. If we can tune into this, then we can make better choices here. We can have this inform us, so we actually understand what is violence, and we understand what is waste. That's where we get these ideas, is from from cosmologies, and then we can apply them over here at the fifth sphere. So you take the fourth sphere, cosmologies and holy books, and you try to study as many of them as you can. For the tree, it's not really sufficient to just study one. Just studying the Bible by itself, even if you study it every day, all day, it's not giving you kind of the breadth that you need to kind of understand other people's perspectives. Not just with the Bible. Same if you just studied I Ching all day, or if you just studied, Buckminster Fuller's synergetic geometry all day. These things need to be, you need to study as many of these as you can, and then you use your intuition again. It's a higher level of intuition this time. It requires a great deal of study before applying the intuition, a great deal of motivation before applying the intuition, and that intuition will help you sift through all the different material that you've been studying and observing and praying on, experimenting with, and so on, and it will give you kind of a gestalt in your own mind about how everything fits together, what the Chinese call the Tao. Okay, now when we focus our attention on the abyss, then we're able to, the abyss is really our psychic powers, and it's based on our omens or synchronicities or uncanninesses or recurring themes and recurring numbers, statistical anomalies, outliers, just situations in our life that are, that are kind of beyond explanation. You can't really explain them away. They kind of stick in your mind because your mind doesn't really have a place to put them because they're so outlandish. And so what that is really, it's a recommendation for us. We need to be able to recognize that that's what's happening, and that's our psychic receptivity, the first part of our psychic powers, to be able to recognize the omen. And then the second part is the psychic heat, the courage to be able to act upon the omen. That action is usually entailed, is usually within the omen itself. There's a call for action in the omen, and to be able to do that, it requires a great amount of courage. Okay, now 3, 2, and 1 at the top of the tree are really our divine faculties within us. And so the 3 is omnipotence, 2 is omniscience, and 1 is omnipresence. All powerful, all knowing, and all present. And we tap into the third sphere usually with synchronized sound, and oftentimes using the letters of the alphabet as units of power. The language has really 3 dimensions. 1 is just the literal meaning, 2 is really the metaphorical or poetic meaning, and then 3 is this power. It's not meaning, it's power. The letters themselves have power when combined properly. And the power is really about our ability to achieve the goals, the higher calling that we set forth here. So the third sphere is really like the culmination of our mission. Okay, then the second sphere, where the third sphere is about sound, this is about light, coherent light. It's about being able to see. And the wisdom, omniscience is wisdom, our ability to solve problems, our ability to solve other people, or to propose other people's problems, solutions for other people's problems. And we tap into it either through an oracle or divination system, but if we have to. But if we can tap into it ourselves through a deep meditation process where we're able to kind of shut down our thinking. When we shut down, our thinking is always giving us the probable. What are the probable things? But what happens is that we see the probable, but we don't see the improbable. So when we solve a problem down here, we always create other unforeseen problems. But here, when we solve a problem, we cut it at the root and get it out. So there's no head of the Hydra problem here. And so if we're able to tune into that, we're able to calm our mind, and our mind becomes clear and transparent. We can see right through to the center of the mind. And that image of the center is the wisdom. We see the answers to the problems. A lot of times they're in like kind of geometric configurations. And that center itself is the one, omnipresence. Okay, so this omnipresence, all present eternally, is is at our deepest center. So this is being able to see our deepest center. This is able to actually be our deepest centers, to merge with the higher self inside of us. And when we do that, we unify, because what we notice is that, or what we even experience is that, what's at our center is the same as what's at everything else's center. So it unifies everything. And then, so this is everything in the universe, but the zero sphere is nothing. Okay, this is nothing, and this is not in the universe. There is no nothing in the universe. So the concept of nothing comes from outside the universe. But it is part of the creator. So it's part of the creator, but it's not part of the universe. It's the part that the creator reserves for itself. And so this is a total mystery, and this is nothingness. It has to do with inner peace, and it's powerful. Again, it's like non-REM sleep, where you go to sleep, and once you slip out, you're not in the dreaming state, but in the non-REM state, the non-dreaming sleep, you're out out cold, but when you wake up, you feel totally refreshed and a lot better. So it's a necessary thing, but it's not really an experience. It's a lack of experience. Okay, now, so that is the 12 of the 12 categories of the Tree of Life. Now, as I said, you can boil that down to another level by taking the whole tree, all 12 aspects, and shrinking it down and applying it to each one of the 12 already. So you have 12 in the 10th sphere, 12 in the 9th sphere, 12 in the 8th sphere, and so on, for a total of 144 different minor aspects, or what is called fractal faculties of the Tree of Life, stages of life that are historical, spiritual, and they are not so much chronological stages as they are dramatic stages. So I've compiled a list of those 144 different fractal faculties, which I'd be happy to share with you if you want to click the link in the description for free. And today every day we feature one of the 144 minor aspects. And today we're looking at number 33, what happens when we pray. And so on the tree, this is an A-sphere. A-sphere has to do with consensus worldview, belief systems, and it has to do with rational faculties. But then it's also the third sphere, the third fractal of the A-sphere. The third sphere has to do with omnipotence, all-powerful. This has to do with sound synchronization. And so and also has to do with the culmination of your higher calling. So those are the two aspects that go into number 33, which is called entreaty deity. Stage number 33 is about affecting our reality through asking a higher power for help. On our knees again, this time in supplication to an infinite being, prayer attempts to communicate with the existence or existences in the metaphysical region. Prayer is not a religion, it's a science, a kind of magic. A substantial proportion of the petitions, though, currently being addressed to the deity are improper. Some guidelines. Prayer must be concerned with human actions, not physical events. For moral courage, not a specific result, for example. Prayer must respect other people's free will. Requests for special or preferential treatment are not acceptable, as it is not consistent with the ethical code handed down to us. When ye pray, use not vain repetitions. Turn off the gods with a small g, repetitive voices. We pray to our innermost selves, That's where, in quotes, God is, at the absolute center of everything, non-local. When ye pray, believe that ye receive. Put our prayers in place with visualization and then just forget about them, assuming that they will come true. Have full confidence and act as if. Prayer is redundant to God. Father knoweth what things ye have need for before ye ask him. And his Son did advise us to take no thought for our lives. But prayer still might help us grasp our own feelings and establish a sacred space. All right, that is number 33, the third fractal of the A sphere, entreaty deity. And that is today's installment of one of the 144 different fractal faculties on the Tree of Life. Again, if you'd like a complete list of that, send me or just click the link in the description and I'll send it out to you. Otherwise, stay tuned for tomorrow's lesson where we're going to talk about a different one of the 144 fractal faculties. And it will also include another detailed introduction to the tree in general. It's better to pay it as to get this repetition. That's how you learn the tree, is by kind of hearing it over and over again. So you can put my videos on loop or whatever and just listen to the description while you're sleeping or something like that. That's how you got to get it. You got to get it into your subconscious. So through repetition, is that how you accomplish that? Now, again, stay tuned for tomorrow's episode, and also thank you for sticking around to the end. You can click the link in the description. You can share the video with others. You can make constructive comments in the comment section. You can also donate directly to me through Cash App or Venmo, listed in the description. And again, we'll see you tomorrow, and have a great day in the meantime.